Hey, how are you doing? I always think that people's motive for doing something is very, very important. So in modern days, people tend to place more importance on results than the process that they go through to reach one goal or motive for doing something. So extremely speaking, it seems to me individual moral and ethics that can be the standard of individual social compliance tends to be neglected in our society. For example, when a company wants to raise business performance, sales performance, a company pretends to know nothing about the salespeople's unethical behaviors for sales performance, business performance intentionally until the authority indicates this. So this is pretty natural business custom in the world in modern days. But I always have a hatred feeling towards people who can do anything for their purpose without a crisis of conscience in their deep mind. So companies also collapse the way of thinking towards social compliance. So it's like social compliance that companies commit externally is no different from just exterior wall painting of the company's building. So what I mean here is like this is just an appeal to people like we are a clean, ethical company and we contribute to poor people in the world just for correcting superficial tracks from people. So it is no exaggeration to say that this is one of the strategic performance to pretend to be a good company superficially and improve the image of the company. So, but actually, in order to make a good performance in a business, in most cases, it decides to do something that must be denounced by people due to moral hazard and in common sense without a crisis of, conscience behind the scene that we consumers don't actually realize it. So so it's like there is no regulation about what we do in law. So no one can blame us for complaints as a moral hazard or something. So taking the method that is totally against moral and ethics is justified just for selfish motive. So this way of thinking is predominant and rather affirmed in the business world, I think. So it's like ruthless war and law of the jungle. Thinking it in general, of this type of selfish motive cannot be looked as a good one in the sense that this way this way of thinking put people at a disadvantage more or less. So I may get off the topic, but but in the first place, the idea of getting profit, getting as much profit as possible, and accumulating wealth on the basis of business doesn't actually coexist with ethics and moral in a society. Because if ethics and moral had been truly protected by people in a society historically, how people use money shouldn't have been for more than verbal exchange. Anyway, sorry, go back to the subject. So, unless motive for doing something is evaluated correctly, along with the concept of ethics and moral that doesn't trespass our conscience, we can never get out of the way of thinking that business is something that we scramble for market share. In other words, this kind of concept is defined as a business anyway. After all, no matter where we go, pursuing own profit and pursuing own advantage, pursuing own benefits for good business performance with negligence of evaluation of its process and motive tend to be strongly affirmed in our society. And companies leave everything about ethics and morals to law and policies with the logic that doing anything that is not written on the regulation and the law is no problem at all. So even in a court, even if you file a lawsuit because you suffer a disadvantage from someone, if there is no law that crackdowns the person's behavior that was supposed to cause disadvantage to you, your lawsuit is going to be known persecution. So I think human society's perspective is quite materialistic and ignores evil and conscience included in our motive behind it, although it is most important thing for human beings because it is very difficult thing to prove physically. So sometimes I feel skeptical if building great business performance is essentially good things to get society better, except for promoting economic circulation in the country. So corrupt and fraudulent motive will easily bring distortion of the society, like great gap between rich and poor. So, and this kind of distortion of society can't be avoided by low-end policies because, conclusive results from the macro perspective we face in the world, including good things or bad things, are largely influenced by what kind of motive people have. So if this competitive society encourages people to gather as many profit as possible in their own territory, this is no different from the battle of conquest of a country. A victory country is a justice in the same way rich company are justice. And what they're doing is justified and admired unconditionally, no matter how terrible ethic problem they have, like Steve Jobs, right? So if people use their even small energy, like just a few percent of energy they use for improvement of business performance, to pay attention to individuals' motive and evaluate it, how society will get better and better.